Christine Brown whispered those 6 words as she stepped out of the black SUV parked outside the courthouse. Her voice was barely audible, but her stride was steady, deliberate. This was not the Christine viewers had seen on Sister Wives earlier. Seasons, fearful, timid, often pushed to the sidelines while Kody lavished attention elsewhere. No, today she was no longer the forgotten wife. She was the woman who had come to this courtroom armed with the truth, accompanied by her lawyers and a few close friends. Christine entered the courthouse draped in confidence like armor. She had waited years, endured dismissals, gaslighting, and emotional starvation. But now, the time had come. Kody Brown was finally going to face the music. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Reporters sat silently along the back wall, notebooks open and pens poised. Fans of the show filled the benches, some craving justice, others stunned that the polished facade of the Brown family had cracked so deeply. At the front, Kody Brown sat stiffly behind his attorneys. The once beaming, charming patriarch of a plural family that had captivated millions was unrecognizable. No golden curls, bouncing with life, only a furrowed brow, restless fingers, and a man staring silently at the courtroom doors, waiting for the woman he'd underestimated. And then Christine arrived. She didn't look at him once. Instead, she took her seat, adjusted the folder in her lap, and nodded to her attorney. The silence was deafening as the bailiff stood and announced, "All rise." The judge entered and the hearing officially began. For over 25 years, Christine had been trapped in what many might call a spiritual prison. Legally, she was not wed to Kody only. Robin held that status. But the commitment was real. The sacrifice was real. And so was the emotional damage. For more than 2 decades, she had raised children, maintained homes, and built dreams within a marriage where she was always an afterthought, her opinions overlooked, her feelings dismissed as too much. Yet she persisted for the kids, for the family, for the hope of love. But that hope was shattered when the cameras didn't capture the cold reality behind closed doors. The verbal jabs disguised as honesty. The blame shifting, the emotional shutdown. She begged Kody to show up for their daughter's surgery. He didn't. She pleaded for communication. He responded with silence. She demanded respect. He retaliated with control and criticism. And when she left, he blamed her. Why go to court? Why expose the private wounds? Because Kody refused to take responsibility. Because he withheld financial support after their split, not just from Christine, but from their youngest child. Because when Christine asked for dignity and co-parenting, Kody ghosted her. Because when she asked for basic necessities, his reply was, "You chose this." Christine had had enough. It wasn't revenge, it was a stand. A stand for her daughter, for every woman told to just endure, and for herself. The woman who once feared speaking out was now raising her voice for justice. Christine's attorney rose and began laying out the case. This was not just about child support. It was a fight for emotional justice. "This is not a case about financial neglect alone," the attorney stated. "It's about a father who refused to honor a partner and a man who profited financially from a family he abandoned emotionally." The judge's brow furrowed. Kody's lawyers objected, arguing emotional testimony was irrelevant to the financial matters, but the judge allowed it. "Character matters," he said, "especially where children are involved." And with that, Christine had the court's attention. She spoke not with anger, but with grace. "I loved Kody for years," she said quietly. "I believed in our marriage, even when it was unbalanced. I hoped he'd come back to me. But the truth is, he left long before I did." Her words were raw, honest, not dramatized for cameras, but real. She told of rationing groceries while watching Kody spend lavishly on Robin's home, cooking meals alone, raising children alone, crying herself to sleep while he disappeared for days. "I wasn't just unloved," she said, eyes fixed on her hands. "I was unwanted, but I still showed up every day for our kids. He did not. Then, for the first time, she looked Kody in the eye. I'm here in this courtroom now because someone has to be. The courtroom was silent. Even Kody sat rigid, arms folded, refusing to meet her gaze. The confident man who once posed before cameras was now stiff, uncomfortable, cornered. Christine's lawyer presented a pile of evidence: texts, emails, voicemails, bank records, a damning trail of emotional and financial abandonment. One text from Kody to Christine read, "You always need something. Maybe try fixing your own issues for once." It was sent nearly 4 years earlier after Christine requested help with their daughter's medical bills. The judge's expression darkened as more messages surfaced. You decided to distance yourself. Don't look for help when you cause drama. Christine described how holidays grew painful, how she would prepare meals only to have Kody show up late or not at all. Our kids asked me, "Is Dad coming?" And I had no answer. She detailed the gaslighting, the times she expressed loneliness, only to be told she was selfish, dramatic, playing the victim. Financial records showed that during the same years, Kody directed over $650,000 to Robyn's household. Christine was left to cover her own expenses despite shared earnings. From TV contracts, one document revealed Kody paid $75,000 towards Robyn's mortgage. Just days after refusing to pay medical bills for their daughter, then he bought Robyn a new SUV. Gasps filled the courtroom. The judge removed his glasses, stared at Kody. "This isn't about priorities," he said firmly. "This is neglecting a minor's medical care. That's a legal responsibility." Kody finally spoke, defending himself. "I was doing the best I could with a messy situation." "No," Christine said, voice steady. "You made your choice. Robyn was your wife. The rest of us were left behind." The judge leaned back thoughtfully. Christine's attorney connected the dots, the texts, the money, the emotional abuse, showing a deliberate pattern of erasure months before the breakup. Christine's voice cracked when she spoke of their youngest daughter. She didn't ask for cameras, courtrooms, or cold silences from her father. She just wants to feel safe, to feel seen. "And I'll do whatever it takes to protect that." The courtroom remained silent. The judge nodded. Kody wasn't just inattentive. He was neglectful. Not just aloof, arbitrarily cruel. And most of all, remorseless. Christine wasn't asking for sympathy. She was demanding acknowledgement. That her spiritual marriage's lack of legal status did not mean her suffering wasn't real. This wasn't reality TV anymore. This was real life. And Christine had just delivered one of the most heart-wrenching, truth-packed testimonies the courtroom had ever heard. But the case was far from over. Next, Kody would take the stand. His cold defense, finger-pointing, and emotional outburst would do even more damage. Stay tuned as Christine's courage battles years of silence and the judge prepares to issue a verdict that could change everything. Everything. Christine's hand trembled as she slowly rose. "Your Honor," she interjected, her voice shaking but resolute. The judge nodded briefly, weary yet attentive. Christine turned sharply toward Kody. Her voice was no longer soft. "You say I'm hard to deal with. But where were you on birthdays, Christmas mornings, doctor appointments? I begged you to show up, and you rolled your eyes." She gestured to the court papers. "I had to prove to this court who you really are because you refused to take responsibility. I'm not here to retaliate. I'm here to defend my daughter. And you call that rebellion? No, that's motherhood." The courtroom fell utterly silent. Even the judge appeared visibly shaken. Christine's attorney stood and explained how Kody's neglect was not just careless, it was emotionally abusive. In a polygamous family, he wielded his power like a weapon, by favoring Robyn and leaving others emotionally and financially starved. Kody didn't just fail as a husband, he exercised psychological control. The court saw text messages where Kody used religion and guilt to shame Christine for seeking independence. Wives are supposed to be submissive. One message read, "Maybe if you were more spiritual, we wouldn't be in this mess." Christine's head dropped as she recalled the private torment she had hidden for years. The judge then examined bank records. Kody had transferred ownership of 3 family properties purchased with collective family income into Robin's name, without notice or agreement. Christine's attorney explained this excluded Christine and her children from their rightful share. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Kody's lawyer objected, but the evidence was overwhelming. Official, notarized documents proving deception. Months of financial records showed over $200,000 moved from family accounts to Robin's personal accounts, including $75,000 sent just days after. Christine requested medical support for their daughter, Truly. Christine's attorney exposed how Kody had removed her from joint accounts, forcing her to pay bills and emergencies on her own. This wasn't neglect, it was economic control designed to isolate her. The judge took notes, visibly disturbed. Then text messages appeared on the courtroom screen. Christine begging for help with overdue utilities. Kody dismissing her as a piggy bank, and messages from Robin threatening to legally silence Christine's pleas. The cold, mocking tone shocked everyone. Finally, the most damning proof. Kody had formed secret LLCs to siphon money into trusts controlled only by him, and obtain millions hidden from Christine and the others. When asked if he'd disclose these, Kody stammered. They were not important at the time. The courtroom no longer felt neutral. Kody's facade crumbled. He was not overwhelmed. He was calculating, isolating, and controlling. Janelle Brown's written statement confirmed the pattern. Frozen accounts, ignored concerns. Isolation tactics. Christine hadn't just won a case she'd shattered. Kody's defense and exposed a man who abused his power to control his family. The judge, after reviewing evidence, condemned Kody's behavior as neglect, coercion, and financial manipulation. He ordered $4,000 monthly child support, payment of past medical bills, and the transfer of contested properties to Christine and her daughter. But the judge wasn't finished. He referred Kody's secret finances to the state attorney general for investigation into possible tax fraud and asset concealment. Kody's stunned silence echoed through the room. Christine exhaled quietly. Years of pain, sacrifice, and gaslighting had finally been recognized. She was no longer just the third wife. She was a woman who dared to stand up and win. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Christine didn't seek the spotlight. She simply said, "This isn't about me. It's about every woman who's ever been ignored, bullied, or silenced." Today, we were heard. Her poise and strength spoke louder than words. Meanwhile, Kody stormed out another door, bitter and defeated, claiming a conspiracy. But the mask was gone, and the world saw the man behind the charm. Social media erupted in support for Christine, millions of likes, thousands of comments praising her courage. Former fans of the show turned their view of Kody around. The narrative had changed. Christine was no victim. She was a survivor. That night, Christine posted a photo of Truly and her daughters around a dinner table, smiling and free. The caption read, "We didn't need a man to build our family. We needed courage to protect it, and we finally did." This was not just a legal victory. It was a revolution. The judgment had far-reaching consequences. Potential criminal investigations, shattered family ties, and a clear message that control and abuse would no longer be tolerated. For Christine Brown and for women everywhere, this was redemption.